Okay, so here we are live once again with another NECA Universal Monsters figure, and this is the Mummy. Yeah, I've been meaning to get this one for a long time. It was out of the original 3 that they put out, it was the one that I was kind of lollygagging on the most for whatever reason. I'm not sure why, but remember a while back I got Dracula, which was a NECA store exclusive, and you could only get that online. And I got Frankenstein and the Wolfman. Got both of those around that time. I brought Frankenstein over here with me because I wanted to compare these two. But for some reason, never got around to getting the Mummy until just recently. I've really been in the Halloween spirit, and I've been wanting to catch up on the Universal Monsters since there's a lot of really cool NECA Universal Monsters figures that I didn't have yet. Of course, you remember, like I said, I'd opened the other 2 glow-in-the-dark figures here. The glow-in-the-dark Dracula, the Ultimate Dracula, one of my favorite characters ever. And of course, recently I opened the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and I got more Universal Monsters back here to open up. I've got the Ultimate Edition of the Ardath Bey Mummy, the Ultimate Edition of Frankenstein, the Ultimate Edition of Red Death, Phantom of the Opera. I've got the Wolfman on the way, and I've got more glow-in-the-dark monsters because I've got the glow-in-the-dark version of Phantom of the Opera and the glow-in-the-dark version of Bride of Frankenstein. Oh, and I did pre-order the Bride of Frankenstein 2-pack with both the monster and the bride from NECA, that one that's limited to 2,000 pieces. So I'm excited about that. Plus the Imperial style Universal Monsters, because as we're going to discuss a little bit in this video, I'm a sucker for the NECA doing the retro stuff. You see the Flash Gordon figures behind me, so you know I love those. Anyway, so I finally got the Mummy, and you can see that the package looks very much like the old Remco packaging. They even have a NECA logo made to resemble the old Remco logo. Remco made these mini monsters that were in scale with Star Wars action figures, and of course Star Wars was so huge at the time, and every kid had Star Wars action figures, so it was cool to have the classic movie monsters in that size. I know if you were a weird enough kid like me, since they only really made the monster characters, you probably used other figures from other lines to fill out the characters from the movies, used Obi-Wan Kenobi as Van Helsing and that kind of thing. Princess Leia for pretty much any female character that was in any of those movies. She had to fill in. And so yeah, the original line was the 3 that you see here, and Dracula, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and the Phantom of the Opera. And when I open the Phantom set, you'll see that it has all those figures on the back of that one. And then so NECA made all those in this style, and then they also made the Bride of Frankenstein, which they should have made back at that time, and the Invisible Man. So I have all of them now except for Creatures from the Black Lagoon, who looks awesome, but unfortunately, mucho dinero. I'm not going to be able to afford to pick that one up unless I win the lottery or something like that. But yeah, I'm probably not. That one, the cheapest one I saw for that one was like $125, and I'm like, I don't know about that. So I'll keep an eye out. Maybe I'll get lucky and find a deal and find one selling one for cheap. Maybe I'll be able to add the glow-in-the-dark creature to my collection at some point. MHD is here, and he says, hello, he glows in the dark? He does indeed. But yeah, even the image of Boris on the package here, it's the same photograph that they used for the artwork on the original Remco card, but it's not quite crushed as much. Like that one was a little more crushed in terms of the contrast, and they made it look like an illustration, but it was that kind of posterized kind of look like they did on a lot of things back then. But yeah, the cross-sell artwork, since this was one of the first ones, and he's actually #1 in terms of the listing, has just those 3 figures. Says collect the whole creepy crew of Universal monsters, all posable and ready for action. And got Frankenstein, Wolfman, and the Mummy. And then it says down here, an authentic posable action figure based on the classic Universal's famous Mini Monsters collection from the early 1980s, recommended for ages 14 years or older. Got the Universal Monsters stamp, the more modern sort of branding that they have for that now. And it does say glows in the dark. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and open this guy up. And of course, they did do the ultimate edition of the Mummy with came with a lot of bells and whistles, like extra heads, extra accessories, all kinds of cool stuff that came with that one. But this one, it's just kind of a basic bitch mummy. He's just the Mummy, doesn't have any extra heads or hands or anything like that. Sean Franklin is here, and he says, hi, Alan. Hi, right back at you, Sean. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. So, yeah. Now, the thing about this one is, unlike the original Remco mini monster figure, that one was actually molded in glow-in-the-dark plastic, and this one seems to be just kind of painted in glow-in-the-dark paint. And if we compare the colors, you can see that this is a much more grayish color than the glow-in-the-dark paint they used on Frankenstein. And Frankenstein, Dracula, and I believe the Wolfman, like all 3 had this sort of like light greenish paint, but the Mummy goes more gray, which is good. That's a good color for the Mummy. Dominic Z is here, and he says hi. Hi, right back at you, Dominic. Welcome to the show. So, yeah, he looks like he's got a lot of really good articulation. I'm looking forward to breaking this guy down. But the first thing I want to do is see if I can get him into the classic sort of Mummy pose with the arms folded across his chest. We got to get him into that pose, don't we? And he does have really well articulated arms. So yeah, there we go. And if I had the coffin, I could have him in the coffin, kind of leaned over like he was. And they did make a coffin, so there is a Mummy accessory set. I might consider picking that up. So I don't have the ultimate version, but this version's pretty cool. And of course, I have the ultimate version of Ardath Bay back there, but that's the unwrapped version. We will be opening him up sometime this month. Where is he at? Okay, here we go. So we can have a look at him real quick. But I got this one a while back, and I was pretty excited about this. But yeah, that's what he actually looks like for most of the movie, because he takes off all the wrappings, and he's passing himself off as a normal guy, but he's careful not to let anybody touch him, because if they touch him, they'll know he's a mummy. He'll feel all dusty and leathery. Dominic Z says, I bought something great a few days ago. It's the No Rev 143 scale General Lee and the No Rev 143 scale kit. That does sound awesome. I'm a big fan of both of those shows. Like I'm a true child of the 80s, and that's what we're gonna remember. So but yeah, I like the articulation on this guy. It looks like he's got a lot of really good articulation, and we will get into talking about that in a minute, a little more specifically. But the funny thing is, since he's like barely in the movie in this look at all, like really the only pose you really need is him with his arms kind of folded across his chest, and that's what he looks like for most of his screen time in there. Dominic says No Rev is a French die-cast brand. I'll have to look into those. That sounds interesting. So yeah, like most of my die-cast stuff is Hot Wheels. But that's mostly what we got over. I could probably find some if I looked online, or we got some specialty toy stores over here that sell some foreign items, and that might be worth looking into. But I really like the sculpting on this guy. There's a lot of really good detail to him. And like with the other glow-in-the-dark figures, the paint job is a lot more simplistic on this one, since it's supposed to kind of capture the look of an old school 1980s toy. And I kind of like that for the eyes, because the way I remember his eyes looking in the movies when he's in this scene is they're just kind of barely open, and you can just kind of see like the black of his eyes, but not the whites of his eyes. And you see that little bit of glint in there, just that little bit of a hint that he's still alive somehow. Uh, and I kind of feel like this version captures that pretty well. And then he's got a little bit of darker shading underneath the eyebrow, like right here. It almost looks kind of like, if you look at him on the camera, it almost looks like he has eyebrows, but that is not what that is. It is shading right underneath where the eyebrow is. I'll see if I can get a closer look so you can have a look at that. And then he's got a little bit of black shading underneath his lower eyelid, and then black lips. This is pretty accurate to what the original Remco mummy figure looked like, if I recall. I do wish that they cast him in the glow-in-the-dark plastic instead of having him with the glow-in-the-dark paint. And I'll get into talking about why in a minute. But I think the reason they probably did it is maybe it was to save a little bit of money. Maybe it was cheaper to paint him glow-in-the-dark than mold him in glow-in-the-dark plastic. Maybe it was an artistic decision because they didn't want to lose all this detail. And painting it helps to bring out some of the detail, but if they use glow-in-the-dark plastic, that's always, like by its nature, it's slightly translucent, and they would have lost some of the detail. So I kind of understand, like whichever reason it was, I kind of understand it, but I'll get into why I wish he was molded in glow-in-the-dark plastic in just a moment. Dominic says No Rev even did the Ford Torino from Starsky and Hutch. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I'll have to check those out. Now, even though he doesn't come with any accessories at all, I do kind of wish he came with some of the loose wraps that went around the figure, because they gave him a little bit more verisimilitude. And I think you could have gotten away with that. I don't think anybody would have been too, even like the most purist of Remco purists, I don't think would have been, oh, hey, I just noticed something. Sorry to get distracted, but I just noticed that the same piece of artwork that they used on the same photograph that they used on the original artwork was also on the poster here. And you can see he's wearing his fez. That's him in his Ardeth Bade disguise. So they actually used the wrong version for this, if you think about it. That's kind of funny. But yeah, I'll open him sometime in the next few weeks. I want to get onto those ultimate figures. But I think I'm going to open for the next 3 episodes, I'm going to open the glow-in-the-dark figures. Because anyway, so let's go ahead, and I got this flashlight here so I can kind of charge him up a little bit. And this flashlight is really bright, so even in the room here with the light on, I think I can still get it to glow enough that that you can see that, yes, he does indeed glow in the dark. But if you notice, like, his upper torso isn't glowing quite as much as his face and his abs are, and that's where the real problem is with this figure, as far as how they did the glow in the dark stuff. Is since it's painted, all these pieces were, I'm imagining, probably painted separately, and they don't quite glow as uniformly as you would like. But you can see it with the flashlight here. It's a really bright flashlight, so I'm able to get him to where you can at least see him glowing a little bit. So yes, he does indeed glow in the dark. So I kind of wish that they had have just used the glow in the dark plastic on this, just because then it would have glowed a little bit brighter in some areas. It would have been more even. You know what I mean? Thoughts on the Jada Toys Ghostbusters Ecto 1, the 24th? I haven't seen it yet. I'll have to check it out. So, but I do like Ghostbusters. So that sounds like something I would definitely be interested in. But you can see, like, with Frankenstein here, they use the glow-in-the-dark paint on him, but not all. He doesn't have as many pieces, so he seems a little more even. But I think that, yeah, that's the problem with the Mummy. Unfortunately, is that he doesn't quite his glowing isn't quite as consistent throughout the whole figure. But he does look really cool, like just as a regular Mummy figure. So that's nice. I like that. Let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. So the Mummy can look up about that far. He can look down about that far. Tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side. Rotate the head all the way around. And of course, it being Neca, there's an extra neck joint down at the bottom, and that also rotates all the way around, and that aids with the the tilting up and down of the head. that gives you just like a little bit more articulation as far as that goes. Like I said, for a character that's like barely in the movie in this appearance, they certainly made sure to give him like some really good articulation. Man, his tummy is still glowing. I think that's the abs are where they got the best of that glow in the dark paint on there. I think they did the best job with that. Dominic says Jada planned a Bluesmobile for the Nano Hollywood ride set back in 2018, 2019, but sadly they canceled it. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Like I always hate it when like something really cool is announced and then it gets canceled. Like I was really looking forward to those Boss Fight Studios Power Stars Zorro figures because I'm a big Superpowers fan, and I thought Zorro would be a good character to have in Superpowers scale. But it got canceled, unfortunately, because not enough people pre-ordered it. And I'm like, should have made it anyway. And then maybe people would have just bought it when they saw it. I don't know. That was very, very disappointing to me. A very cruel blow dealt to my heart. So I was actually really looking forward to those figures. So anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah, articulation. So his arms can raise up to the sides about that far. And, of course, the arms rotate all the way around. And he does have a bicep cut, which rotates all the way around. And you can see that they kind of try to do this thing where they hit it underneath some wraps. And I think maybe the wraps stick up just like a little bit too much because of that. But, you know, it's fine. It's fine. And then he's got another joint. He's got double jointed elbows, but they're not like double jointed like McFarlane elbows. They're kind of double jointed, but also they rotate all the way around. So you can get all kinds of crazy poses out of the forearms rotate all the way around, and I think that's the way they're supposed to go. And the elbows rotate all the way around, and then they're double jointed up here. Actually, I think it's supposed to go that way because that would give me a little more posability, I think. No, I think I had it right the first time. There we go. So, yeah, there we go. That's some good elbow articulation. They did a great job with that. So, and then the upper torso rotates all the way around. And the whole torso articulation is good. You can kind of tilt from side to side about that far. He can't tilt back that far, which I would have expected he would be able to tilt back farther than that, but not really. And then he can tilt forward about that far. Man, those abs are still glowing too. Like, that's crazy. Nothing else is glowing on this guy but the abs. So they did a great job with the abs. I'll tell you that much right now. So the Mummy can do the splits, no problem. I guarantee you this figure is better articulated than Boris Karloff himself was when he was wearing this getup, all wrapped up tightly in these mummy bandages. And other actors had issues dealing with the Mummy costume too. Just Lon Chaney Jr. just absolutely hated it. Like, he hated playing the Mummy. Loved playing the Wolfman, hated playing the Mummy. So Mummy can kick forward about that far. There is like a little bit of rotation at the hip. It doesn't go all the way around, but there's a little bit, enough for some posability, so that's fine. And then he's got a single joint of articulation at the knee that bends in about that far and rotates all the way around. And then Mummy has a boot cut. I think he has a boot cut. It looks like he has a boot cut. It might be stuck, or it might just be like that might be where they glued it on. I don't know. I thought it was a boot cut, though. I guess I was mistaken. All right, moving on. So, and then he's got the cool kind of feet that they can rotate all the way around where the foot meets the ankle, and then point down about that far. Sorry, wrong foot. Point down about that far, and then what the heck happened here? I did rotate it all the way around. Oh, no, that's the shin. Okay, so yeah, point down about that far, point up about that far. So great for pointing down, not so great for pointing up, but it's still really good ankle articulation, I think. Dominic says, Jada Toys announced a 1/24th scale Herbie the Love Bug this year, but it's still stuck in the pending licensor approval process for some reason, and the year is almost over. Yeah, who knows, man? Like that licensing approval, that can be the thing that gets you sometimes, and that's unfortunate. But hopefully they'll get it straightened out. I when I was working at my job, I saw a family with a kid, and this kid was just obsessed with Herbie. He'd seen, like, I guess something of Herbie on Disney Plus or something, and he kept talking about Herbie. And I was like, oh, yeah, I remember Herbie. I used to watch that when I was a kid. They had all those on the Disney Channel. So I actually knew what he was talking about. I don't know. Maybe he was like autistic or something. You know how some kids can just get like laser focused on something. And that's like their one interest, their one thing they want to talk about. And with this kid, it was Herbie. So I guess he was happy just to have anybody who could connect with him on that level. So that was pretty funny. He was a cute little kid. But yeah, so is this guy worth picking up? I would say yes, especially if you're like me and you just really like the glow-in-the-dark figures and you want to make sure you have the whole set. I still might even buy the Ultimate Edition of him one of these days because I would like to have all the accessories that come with him. They're really cool. I'm actually a really big fan of that original 1933 Mummy movie. So I'm definitely looking forward to, I watched that. That was one of the Halloween movies I watched this year. But yeah, so I kind of appreciated looking at all the little doodads that the Ultimate figure comes with. So I might buy it just for that. But ultimately, like oddly enough, from what I've seen of it, I actually kind of like the paint job better on this one, even though it's a little more simplistic. I kind of feel like it captures the flavor of the character. The other one, oddly enough, it looks too lifelike and animated to me. Like, it looks more sort of like he looks too alive, and the mummy's supposed to look kind of dead. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense? And I'm probably in the minority on that, but it's how I feel about it. The heart wants what the heart wants, and I kind of want like a more simplified kind of cartoonish mummy than a more living sort of animated mummy. Dominic says Jada Toys has had the Disney license since 2016, 2017. Yeah, but even then, sometimes they with something like that, there's still the sort of thing where like the licensor still has to sign off on it. It's like McFarlane was talking about that with the DC figures lately. Is like the characters that he makes are the ones that DC tells him to make. And like he can make suggestions and be like, hey, could we make, I don't know, Dead Man or something like that. But if DC doesn't want to make a Dead Man figure, they don't make a Dead Man figure. And that's all there is to it. So anybody who complains that McFarlane makes too much Batman should probably talk to DC about that, actually. So anyway, something I wanted to do just for fun is, since these are both action figures of Boris Karloff, I wanted to compare their heights. And you can see that Frankenstein is a good deal taller than the Mummy. And, that's one of those things where, character-wise, Frankenstein probably would be a lot taller than Imhotep. That actually does make sense. But it is kind of funny because they are the same actor. You would think they would be closer to the same height. But, of course, they exaggerated Frankenstein's height in a lot of ways so that they could make... Boris Karloff was not the tallest of people. He was, I believe, like 5'10", so like about average height, about as tall as me, actually. But yeah, so not the shortest dude in the world, but not the tallest dude in the world either. So, they put the thick boots on him and, filmed it at whatever angle they could to make him look a little taller. And even if we line him up with the soles of the boots there, you can see he still stands a little bit taller than the Mummy. So yeah, it is kind of funny that technically they're the same guy because they're the same actor, but they're not the same height, which I think is kind of funny. But the Mummy's really cool, and I'm glad I finally got around to picking him up. Oh, I should point out that since this is a repaint of, again, the Ultimate Mummy figure, he does actually have the ring sculpted onto his hand, but it doesn't have any special paint for the ring itself, but the detail is there. So I guess if you want him to have the ring, you gotta paint it yourself. But of course the Ultimate version, that one does have the ring painted on, so that's nice. I'll get him with his arms folded up again, because I do think that looks cool. There we go. And maybe I should get the coffin so I can display him in the Mummy coffin. I think that would be a cool thing to do. Dominic says Jada Toys even planned a 1/24 scale Rusty's Cruz Ramirez from Cars 3, but it also got canceled. Jada only did one Cruz variant, which was the Dinoco Cruz Ramirez. So that's kind of funny because, the Cars toys like sell out the ass. That's one of the reasons they made sequels to Cars, is because kids bought the toys, and I think Cars sold more toys than any other Pixar movie. So yeah, kids love playing with cars. I guess that makes sense. So anyway, that's pretty much it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure that you hit like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Is the little bell still a thing? Hit the little bell if you would, please, if you want to make sure that you're warned anytime I'm going online. Oh, and if that hype thing, if that's down there, I guess hit the hype thing. I don't know what that does. I don't understand any of this stuff. I'm too much of a Luddite to get any of it. But I do know that YouTube likes it when I say like and subscribe. So please make sure that you like and subscribe. And leave a comment down below. I like it when you leave comments. That's always my favorite part. Bobby Wald is here. Better late than never. Sorry you missed most of the show. Unless you were lurking. Hopefully you were lurking. But you can watch the rest if you want later. Funny thing is, I don't need to buy a Disney car toy because I already own a Hudson that went down to do sound clips for Doc Hudson. Hey, that's really cool. So that's nice to know. So yeah, and I believe that was the last film role of the legendary Paul Newman. So yeah, rest in peace, Paul Newman. So and we just lost Robert Redford. So now Butch and Sundance are both gone for real. That's pretty sad. But that's how life is. I'm at that age where all my heroes are dying. Thankfully, this guy, I don't want to say thankfully, but this guy was already dead. I think Boris passed in 1969, so several years before I was born. So I first discovered Boris Karloff. He was already dead. I first discovered Bela Lugosi. He was already, I think Bela Lugosi died the same year my mom was born. So, it would have been nice for them to stick around a little bit longer, but that's just the way of things, I guess. I'm sorry. I just got really morbid there, didn't I? But anyway, that's it for The Mummy. Hope you enjoyed the show. Next episode, I'm going to be back with another one of these glow-in-the-dark monsters, but I haven't decided which one I'm going to open up yet. It's either going to be, like the other two I got left are Phantom of the Opera and Bride of Frankenstein, and they both look really cool, and I can't decide which one I'm a little more excited to open. I think I'll open Bride first. Because I've got the other Phantom of the Opera back here, the Red Death Phantom of the Opera, and then I could do two Phantom of the Operas in a row. I guess I could have saved this guy for last and opened up two mummies in a row. Yeah, there he is. Opened up RF Bay at the same time, but oh well, whatever. It's either stick on the theme of what wave it's a part of, or stick with the characters. So I figure it works just as well this. And then I can swap back and forth. And like I said, I got Ultimate Frankenstein, so I'll have Frankenstein to open up for you soon. And Ultimate Wolfman should be on the way. I still got the Migo Nosferatu. So we're gonna have lots of cool stuff to open up for you in the coming weeks. So leading up to Halloween, my most wonderful time of the year. I'm always excited at Halloween time, but I'm really feeling it this time. I had a kind of a rough time last Halloween, so I wasn't too much in the Halloween spirit. And I think the last time I did something special for Halloween was when I opened up those Ghostbusters 12-inch figures. So we'll have plenty of stuff to get us through Halloween this year. It'll be a lot of fun. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Bye.